there and they're paying attention. Incidents happened in the Soviet Union before it collapsed. Incidents happened all over the northern U.S. at ICBM bases, where they came down, hovered over the silos, played hell with the electronics. Pictures were taken. Hundreds of witnesses watched them. Highly classified, you never hear that, except from whistleblowers and big mouths like me. It is the most important issue, in my view, in human history. It's not merely that we're not alone, but we have never been alone. We have had what I have shared several many times. We have had an intimate interrelationship with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence from the beginning of human history. And that is dynamite. There was talk in the war room about a study that was underway. And this study became initiated in 1961 as a result of an event that occurred early February in 1961, where a flight of unidentified objects were flying from the Soviet sector to the east over the Warsaw Pact toward the west over the NATO lines. These objects were very high, they were very fast, they were in formation. They appeared to be circular in shape, and they were obviously under intelligent control. They came in a formation of what appeared to be almost 100 of them. And they flew in formation at a high rate of speed from the east over NATO, over the Channel, southern coast of England, where they turned, flew north and disappeared from NATO radar over the Norwegian Sea. We found out that the Soviets had gone on alert, the Warsaw Pact had gone on alert because they picked them up. All of our Air Force and radar sensory devices picked them up. NATO thought those objects belonged to the Russians. We found later that the Russians thought they belonged to us. Both forces were to find out later that they didn't belong to any of us, that they belonged to somebody else. And of course the big question is, who the hell do they belong to? Who are they? What are they? Where are they from? They demonstrated incredibly high technology. There were not jets. There were no contrails. NATO SHAPE, Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers, initiated a study in 1961, which was underway when I arrived in '63, to determine what the hell these things were. So I will share with you things that I strongly believe and strongly hold, that even today, it's the greatest story in human history. It involves who we are. It involves what we are as a species. It involves how we came to be. Now, for many, many years, I held to the view that once we could get this out, many of us who were military would say what we've seen, what we've learned, what we've concluded, experiences we've had personally. And I kept naively thinking, once we get it out, the public is going to clamor for more. My life changed and I was never ever quite the same. So the study itself was not as complete as it could have been. They concluded what they wanted to conclude. One, there was not a threat involved. Two, they weren't the Soviets. Three, the evidence was overwhelming. They were extraterrestrial. Four, there were 4 groups involved. 4 different groups. And they were all humanoid, but they were not human. Only one of the 4 was what we considered to be human. One group out of the 4 looked so much like us. I mean, almost identical to us. They could have put on these guys could have put on a suit and tie. And for the the females, because we encountered some of them as well. They got to put on a dress, suit and tie, coat, jacket, sit down with you, next to you in a restaurant, sit next to you in a theater. You'd never know. These groups that are interested in us, at least seem to show some benevolence, I think would probably step in and keep us from blowing the hell out of ourselves if push comes to shove. When I retired from the military, I went to work for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and I worked with them for 14 years. So I've got 42 years of government service behind me, and throughout all those years I had the very highest security classification you can have, top secret. When I was at NATO in 1963 through 1967, I had cosmic top secret, which was and still is the highest level of security in NATO. That's how I got involved in this crazy UFO field. We're dealing with a big, big story. It's not just them. As I said, if it was that simple, it'd probably been out some time back. It's really about us. It's who we are, what we are, how we came to be, and where we might end up going sometime. I've always believed our destiny is in the stars. That's a hope that I have, that generations yet to come will travel out there and will become a part of that community. That's a dream that I won't live to see, but it's a dream I hold dear, that we'll make it, that we will survive as a species, because I think we've got some, I jokingly say, we have some good friends in high places.
Is there really life on other planets? Some former military and government personnel say they have proof there is. Elaine Quijano explains.
We've seen the photographs and heard the stories of what some say is evidence of UFOs. Now a group of scientists, former Air Force and FAA officials is lending its voice to the argument that we are not alone. Dr. Stephen Greer heads up the Disclosure Project, a group that compiles information from people who say they've encountered extraterrestrial forms of life.
We can establish through this testimony that these objects of extraterrestrial